And we are live. Welcome to another episode of Game Night Insight. This month's episode of Game Night Insight is the horror of the Shelf of Shame. So I am your host. A quick hi to Lynn, who's saying hi already in the chat there. If you're here, you probably know who I am. I'm the Board Game Captain. This is my channel, but let me have some of my guests and my guest host and my other hosts, my co-hosts, introduce themselves. I apparently can't speak tonight, so I'm going to start with Angela, who is directly beneath me here on the stream. Angela, why don't you tell everybody about your two YouTube channels?
Hi everyone, I've got two YouTube channels. My board gaming channel is Board Game Gran. My non-board gaming channel is dead, so don't go there, but it's GirlyGamer if you like Nerf mods and prop making and board games. And Riley, over to you.
Oh, I thought you were just saying if you like Riley. Thank you.
Oh, everyone likes Riley.
Well, I'm Riley Stock. I'm the host of the Board Game Community Show, and I love your modded stuff. I'm a big Borderlands fan, and I have another podcast, Friend and Foe Adventure Co. That's an actual play podcast of the Borderlands, Bunkers, and Badasses. But tabletop wise, I do the Board Game Community Show where I interview people throughout the board game community, and we just kind of talk. It's very, very casual. So that's me. Up to Marcus.
Hey, it's Foyo Games, Marcus. So I do a little board game coverage and a bunch of card game coverage, and also got another channel, Foyo Flips, where I do eBay reselling. I often sell a lot of board games too. So
I invited Marcus to join us for this month. Marcus is a longtime subscriber and fan of my channel. He's been commenting for ages. And then fairly recently, has it been less than a year that you've had the channels going now? Or
yeah, I think about 5 going on 6 months now.
Yeah, so I was gonna say he decided to do his own gaming channel, and we've all been at that early stage. Everyone who does content creation has been at that early stage where it's tough to try to figure out what you're going to do and get going. So I thought it'd be cool if we had him on and got his perspective on some things. He has probably a fresher perspective than those of us who may be a little more jaded because we've been doing it longer. So I thought it'd be fun to have him on. So I invited him to be our guest host for this month's episode. So now, real quick, does anyone have any news they wanted to share before we get into our main topic?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything right now. That's weird.
So I had the one thing I was just going to mention is so Gen Con was this month, and I did a ton of coverage. If anyone hasn't checked it out yet, if you'd like to, I got a ton of coverage, demos, as well as my Gen Con experience video. The whole and the wrap up is all up on the channel. Everything I shot at or after Gen Con has already been released. If you want to check that out, that's other than that, I don't really have anything else either. Marcus, did you have any news?
Me and Josh, we actually filmed a gameplay, so I got to chop that up. I filmed that also. I guess I'll look out for that.
Oh yeah, we were playing the game of it was Wormholes, which actually I have a little snippet of Marcus playing with me in one of the videos I did from Gen Con. It was specifically the Gen Con 2022, the experience, which is up and it's got a lot of really cool stuff. I really had a lot of fun editing that one together. It's got a lot of footage from the con as well as some initial reactions from me and a couple of people I went with, which was Lynn and Matt. And then also Marcus shows up at one point while we're playing the game of Wormholes. So check that out. All right. So I guess without any further ado, we're just going to sort of jump into the main topic because nobody's got any news to discuss. So the main topic we're discussing is the dreaded Shelf of Shame. If you are in the gaming community, you've heard people talk about it. The Shelf of Shame is a reference to a shelf full of games that you have yet to get to the table. And it is your shame because you've bought them and they've been sitting around for ages and you've yet to play any of them. And of course, board games need to be played. they're games. You got to get them to the table, and it sometimes it feels extra shamey when you're buying more games when you already have a giant shelf full of games you've yet to play. So so that's kind of the idea. So we're going to talk about how this gets out of hand, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, in what circumstances it might be a good thing versus a bad thing. And we're also just going to give some advice for how to deal with the shelf of shame. And also, of course, we're going to get some input from you guys in the chat. Feel free to jump in and let us know your opinions on the shelf of shame or anything you'd like to hear us discuss about the shelf of shame. And we're going to try to react to anybody who jumps on in the chat. So, Angela, let me ask you, how has your experience with the shelf of shame, and I'm going to throw a picture of your shelf of shame up here, how has your shelf of shame gotten out of control? And I got to ask you, is this entire thing your shelf of shame?
You know, that's my main shelf, but I've actually got another 2 of those and the smaller ones as well in another room. And the reason I've put my main shelf there, although I have played some of the games on there, is there's a lot of games on there I haven't played. And that's my main shelf. That's a shelf that I see every day. It's in my living area. So it's embarrassing. It is shame. It's not opportunity. It is pure shame.
So how did your shelf of shame get now? Because yours, I would say you and Marcus probably have the 2 that are the most out of control. I'm going to just throw that out there. But how did yours get so out of control that you have most of those games are not played? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, well, I saw Marcus do this before when you said buying them and like collecting them, and that's how it got out of control. Because I'm quite happy to buy a game and not play it. I will buy it if it's on sale or if I like the look of it, and then I'll set it on my shelf of opportunity to play later. But then it just becomes a shame.
So now I heard you say shelf of opportunity. Are you trying to twist that into a positive then?
Well, I am trying to get a grip on it, and I'm glad to report if I was in, like, is it AA or whatever, where they give out little tokens. Yes. I'd be getting my little board game tokens. I haven't bought a game for 2 months now, which is
real quick. Somebody's sound is going a little crazy. We're getting a lot of feedback. I think it's Riley's.
Who? Maybe it's my fan. I'll turn off my fan.
We're getting a huge amount of feedback on your sound there. It's definitely yours.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to get a grip of it. So I've stopped collecting as much as I was. I'm being very, very picky, even when I'm looking at games now. And I haven't put anything on Kickstarter recently or anything like that. So I'm hoping I'll be able to pick away at the games that I've kept. I've also sold 100 games.
Oh, well. Wow. That's huge. So I believe we can say you're a recovering addict then at this point, since you went with the
yes.
analogy.
Yes.
So now, I was going to say, so great. That's awesome. I would say that definitely a big positive step when you have a huge amount of games that haven't been played is stop buying more. That is definitely important.
It's hard though. It's a struggle.
And Marcus, now you've got, because I'm going to go to you because you and Angela kind of have the largest amounts. Marcus, you sent me a bunch of pictures. So you have one shelf of shame, but then let me see if I can find, it's like, that's kind of a shelf, I think. Let me see. You've got a few you sent me. I want to say, then there's like boxes of shame. And there's a shelf. That was the one I was thinking of. That's the shelf of shame that Marcus sent me. But also, apparently you have a shed of shame?
Yeah, I mean, I call it more like veins of shame. Gold veins of shame. So, I buy and sell. So,
right.
When I find something cheap or whatever, and it's a good flip, I'll go ahead and grab it. And then, I can't, I'll get one for myself, some for the people. So,
that's what
I was
you're
gonna
doing.
say, because I zoomed in on that and I was like, there are multiples of games. What I didn't realize you resold them.
So it's basically you're buying a bunch of stock of older games to flip on eBay when you're doing the Foyo flips, and then you're keeping one copy of each for yourself, but never getting around to playing them.
And that's how you can wholly justify it, honestly.
But is it justifiable?
They're paying
Yes,
for
it's
themselves.
justifiable. They pay for themselves.
Wait a minute. No, hold on. No, because I was gonna say you like, okay, so like this is sort of a shelf. This is definitely a shelf, but this is boxes of stuff, and this is a shed full. It's not even in your house anymore. You can't justify that. Only for the flipping. For the flipping portion, I get it. But for like the stuff you have for yourself that you're waiting to play that's in the shed, you can't justify it if it's not in your house anymore. That's rough.
Hey, I mean, the excess, the multiple copies, they paid for it, so it's all justifiable.
All right, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
That's the key.
Okay.
That's the key.
So you don't think it's a problem then, getting a bunch of games that you haven't gotten to the table and still buying more? You don't think it's actually a problem? It's not an issue.
Little problem, but at the end of the day, you can always sell it.
I like the optimism you got going on over there, Marcus. I'm enjoying that. Yeah, because when I get rid of games, I do. I donate them, I sell them, I give them to friends, let someone else get a chance with them. Now, Riley, you have hold on one second. Alexa, stop. Jesus. She just started telling me stuff about things she found on the web and such. I was like, stop listening.
More games.
Yeah. I think she just bought me some things. I think that's what just happened. I'm not positive. Alexa, stop listening. Oh my God, she's persistent. What the hell? Yeah, what was that about? So I think this was Riley's here. Riley, is this yours?
Yeah, that's mine.
All right, so that's pretty out of hand too. You've got a bunch of stuff on the floor in front, and is the whole shelf the shelf of shame?
No, that's my entire collection. So I probably have the smallest collection of us all, I think. But there's most of the stuff on the floor is shelf of shame. There's probably only 3 games actually on the shelf that are shelf of shame.
And then you have the cat who says, if I fits on stack, I sits on stack.
Exactly. So he has to be in every picture. That's what it is.
Adorable. So how did yours get as out of hand as the giant pile on the floor in front of your shelves there?
Kind of like what Marcus said. When you find something on sale and it looks good, you're like, why not? I don't see why not. But yeah, and then you just don't have the time to play them. But I do think our family plays games. I got to talk to Mick and Starla, and we had kind of talked about that type of thing because they had a lot of games. I can't remember the number, but they said, it's like we're squirrels. Well, I guess Mick said this. Starla wasn't 100% on board with this, I think. But, that it's like squirrels hoarding nuts for winter. And so once winter comes and you can't go outside, you can't play outside, go for hikes as often, you don't want to, you want to stay in warm, then you have a ton of board games to catch up on. So
see, I do that year round though. I do that year round. I don't wait for winter. I year round, like my days off, I'm like, people are like, let's go outside and do something. I'm like, let's go to the basement and play some games.
I'm waiting for retirement. That's my squirreling away.
Oh yeah, see? That's like, where are you? You got to hold those up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. I have a little bit of a different story as to how mine got a little out of hand. So I've kind of got like 2 shelf of shame-ish areas in my basement, my game room down here. So the first is where I put all the review copies I've gotten, which right now is a bit out of hand because I just came back from Gen Con, which added a whole bunch of review copies to the stacks over here. But the thing is, like, I don't feel like this is a problem. This does not feel like a problem to me. And the reason is I know it will all get played. Everything that I've been given to review, I'm going to play it. It's going to get played. I'm going to review it. The part that's more of a problem for me is this. These are games that Lynn or I have purchased and have been waiting, or got as presents and have been waiting to get played. So these are more of a problem.
have a section of your shelf that's like, this is my shelf of shame.
Yeah, basically
Okay.
just about everything you see here, plus there's a couple more that are off the side of the camera, are games that were either bought as presents.
Couple more, guys.
No, it's only about two more that didn't quite make the picture. Literally two, believe it or not. But yeah, they just didn't quite make it. And these are ones that either I bought for myself, Lynn bought for me as a present, someone else bought for me as a present, like the one of the Dune games there was bought for me by my buddy Matt, who's in some of the Gen Con videos. Some of them are ones I bought myself, but because of the large amount of review copies I get these days for the channel, I haven't been able to get a lot of these to the table. And every
I've
once
got
in a
4 of
while,
those that haven't played them.
Which one?
I got Way of the Panda.
Mhm.
Tried to play that, didn't work. Got Masters of Orion. Haven't taken that out of the plastic. Fire and Axe still in the plastic, and Scorpion Freighter.
Yeah, I haven't played any of them yet. Yeah, they're all on my shelf of shame too. We have some crossover between our shelves of shame. Yeah. So okay. So let's go with, is this a problem, or is it, because this is the big question? Is it as bad as people make it out to be when you have your shelf of shame? Angela threw out the comment shelf of opportunity, which twists it into a positive there. Now I want to say when we were discussing this topic, Riley, was it you who said shelf of opportunity in the discussion, or Angela, was it you?
Angela did too. I've said it too, but I think Angela might have said it first.
Okay. So you've both referred to it that way. So let me get one of you guys on this. Is it not a problem? Is it not as okay? Riley, go ahead.
Okay. I mean, I don't think so. I legitimately call it the shelf of opportunity, and I think it's that hoarding nuts thing for winter. I work with farms, and so during the summer, I've got a lot of driving I do. I'm out a lot. I get home and I try and play games like on the weekend or at night if I can, if I'm not too tired. But during the winter, I have almost nothing to do, and so I get to play a lot more games. And so I know that a lot of these will get played, and that's what I look forward to. So for me, it doesn't seem like a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. But what about you, Angela?
For me, it became a problem. I think I was spending, now that I'm out of it, I can see that it was a problem. But when I was in it, it was like, yay, more board games. It's amazing.
So I just haven't reached there yet.
It was a problem. But
so at what point did you feel like it crossed over from not a problem to suddenly it's a problem?
I don't even know. I think maybe at one point, someone came into my house. Oh, it was an apartment inspection, and she came in and she went, "Oh, I love this. This is my favorite apartment. There's always so much to look for here, and your game collection's amazing. How many have you played?" And I was like, "Oh, this is oh, maybe 40%. You've got all those, and you don't play them." Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, I can see that.
Question.
But now I'm going to go to Marcus now, because Marcus basically said he doesn't think it's a problem at all. Now this is an interesting difference. So Riley's like, it's really not kind of a problem. Angela's like, it became a problem, and Marcus, you were like, it's not a problem.
Marcus is just dipping his toe in. Give it a year, Marcus. Give it 2 years.
I'll tell you when I've got a problem. Hit me again.
When you're living in the shed and the board games occupy the entire house,
that would be a problem. Hold on.
The problem.
I happen to have a little inside information that Angela and Riley don't know. Marcus has 3 sheds.
Oh no! All right. That's cool. Sorry.
And they're all full of resale or games, right? Basically.
Pretty much.
Oh,
Now the eBay buying and not listing, that's the real problem. But the board games, no, that's not the problem.
Well, I mean, because you're doing the eBay reselling as your side gig and making money off that, so that's totally understandable. But like when you're taking up space that you could be taking up, and now here's the thing I'm thinking. So you're selling stuff on eBay and making money at that. But when you're taking up space that could be taken up by other things you're going to sell on eBay with games that you haven't played, have been sitting around for like months, and you're still waiting to get him to the table. You still don't think that's a problem?
Minuscule, minor. Because like most of my things weren't really shelved. So I've got really most of my just collection of not playing things. That's really kind of boxed up in a box. So that's taking up minor space. But, like I've got Zaya, like it's unopened. I might think of selling that one day because I'm probably just not going to get to it anytime soon.
And you do have an easy out because you've got a selling gig. You've got a gig where you sell stuff online. So doing that means you've got an easy out if you decide to be like, forget it, this isn't going to make it to the table. I'm just going to sell it.
Oh yeah.
You've already got that, which none of the rest of us have.
Yep. So
a
little problem, not that big a problem.
Yeah, I'm kind of like, so I feel like the gradient goes like this. I feel like on one side of the gradient, we have Marcus, who's like, not a problem. Maybe the tiny problem, really not a problem. And then on the other side, we have Angela, who's like, yeah, it became a problem and I had to sell 100 games. And I feel like Riley and I are kind of in the gradient within between the two of you guys. So like Riley's like, not really a problem. And I think I'm more on, I think Riley is closer to Marcus's side and I'm closer to Angela's side. Because I feel like mine, again, the review copies, I've got them in hand now. I've started to turn people down for review copies as a fix to getting too many review copies. I know all of those will get played, so I don't think they're a problem. But the stuff that I've purchased or received as gifts, and a lot of these, I really want to get to the table. I have 2 different Dune games there. If you look at the bottom shelf there, 2 different Dune games. Neither one of them has made it to the table. I really have to get them to the table. Lisboa is a game I bought for Lynn because it's supposed to be the most Euroist of all Euro games ever. Got to get to the table. Like Marcus pointed out, I got Way of the Panda. That's been sitting around for ages. Windward, I played Windward, someone else's copy at Gen Con, bought it, still haven't played my copy.
Okay, but does that count as a...
Because my copy hasn't been played.
But it's like you've played it at least. You at least know how you feel about it, right?
It's great. It's good. It's really good. It's a really good game. I do know I like it. The game I played of it, I adored it.
Riley's brought up. If you're not playing them, like on my shelf of shame, they're not played. And I keep some because I'm like, that looks really good. Like I might watch a playthrough online and I'm like, I'm going to enjoy that when I play it. So I end up keeping it. But every now and again, when I do play them, I don't like them as much as I thought I would. And then, that's why you keep them as well.
I always feel like games that I got on impulse or out of hype, that's my bigger shelf of shame. Like,
yes.
no offense to Marvel Dice Throne. I bought that the other day. I'm proud of myself for canceling my Kickstarter. And I ended up just buying it at Target. And then I played it and I was like, yeah, I'm glad I canceled it. But also now, like, I don't know if I care to keep it. So that's almost a shelf of shame all by itself of like, oh, I have this game that I don't necessarily care to get played again.
Yeah, there's different variations, isn't there, of the shelf of shame?
Yeah.
I have a shelf of shame support group confession to make as we're discussing, as we're making this like a Board Gamer Anonymous support group, Shelf of Shame Anonymous. Kickstarters, when one comes up that I have a weakness for, I can't help myself. And it's a little bit of a confession. I spent $800 on a Kickstarter the other day. 4 games when I still have this level of Shelf of Shame. I've thrown it out there. I did it. I worked some overtime to pay for it. But I did.
It's Battletech though. But it's Battletech though.
No, it was Leviathans. But Catalyst Game Labs, you were the right company.
Okay.
It was Leviathans. I did, and I'm still gonna do the Battletech Kickstarter. I know I'm gonna spend a ludicrous amount because I love Battletech, and you know that. But the Leviathans Kickstarter came up, and I was getting really into checking it out, and I was like, this looks awesome. I was checking out the new Leviathan stuff at Gen Con. They were previewing it. The Kickstarter was up, and I was like, well, and it's just one game. It's just one game, but I bought so many because I was like, hold on now. I'm going to want to have a German fleet. I'm going to want to have a French fleet. And then I'm going to want to have a Russian fleet. And then I'm going to want to have an Italian fleet. And then, you know what? If I've done all that, I think I want to have a British fleet. So I actually put enough in to get 5 fleets, all 5 main fleets that they're doing. Maybe went a little crazy on it. I couldn't help myself. But even though I've got these bunch of things on Shuffle Shame, but here's the thing. I don't actually think this is a problem because this game will get played almost immediately as soon as it arrives.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to love this game. This game is going to be freaking awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. But that kind of brings up another question of like, do you maybe starting with Marcus because you resell stuff. So with like as soon as I get a game, I pretty much bust off the wrap, like the plastic, and start punching tokens, reading through rule books. Like I get so excited to play it, and I may not play it for a couple months. But like, what do you do?
I mean, I really just most of the time I keep the plastic on, and then it's really giving me like a lot of cheap content because I can just always do an unboxing. And yeah. And then too, one thing that just recently happened too is like during C19, I bought a bunch of games. Stuck inside, bought a bunch of games. And then like I was looking at that Zaya on the shelf that's still in the plastic. I ended up playing somebody else's copy, like we were talking about. So I mean,
so does that count? Does that count? Now, Marcus played Zaya, but his Zaya is unopened. What's the opinion? Because we were talking about that with my Windward. Does that count? Should that come off the shelf of shame because we played those games?
I think so. I think that you've played it, you like it, because otherwise then it's like, all right, I need to cull this, or I need to give this away, sell it, whatever it is. But like, if you like the game, I don't think that's shame.
What do you think, Angela? Does that count?
I think this is the first time I've disagreed with my lovely Riley.
Oh,
this really is. Oh no,
yeah,
drama!
I don't know. I feel like if it's on your own shelf and you haven't played your copy, then it still should be on the shame shelf. All
right, anyone watching, comment in the comments. What are your opinions on this? Does it count? That should it come off the shelf of shame if you played another person's copy of the game, but you haven't played your copy? Should it come off? Because I've got a couple on my shelf of shame that I either played before I bought or have played since I bought that then I could take off because I just haven't played my version.
I've got on that shelf that was my picture. There's games on there that I've played because my son-in-law is a big board gamer. So I play a lot of games with him at his house. And there are there's multiple copies in the family.
But you don't think they should come off your shelf of shame?
No,
because you haven't played yours.
Yeah.
I definitely see that because it's like I spent the money to put this on my shelf, and yet I haven't actually played this off my shelf.
Yeah. What do you think, Marcus? Do you if you played someone else's, should it come off the shelf of shame?
I mean, it's like you played it. So how shameful can it really be? Now the question becomes, do you want to keep it or get rid of it somehow?
So Lynn put out there, she says, I think it counts. It's like if you read a book from the library and then buy a copy later. I think Lynn's going to be the tiebreaker here, unless anyone else jumps in with an opinion on this. And the reason I'm saying Lynn's the tiebreaker is we seem to be split directly down the middle on this one. Because I feel like and it's literally on the same sides because like I'm with Angela and Marcus is with Riley on this where you guys think it should come off and I'm kind of like I'm with Angela where I don't think it should. So I think you guys I was gonna say you gotta angle it better, but yeah I was gonna say we're kind of directly split down the middle on that one on whether or not it counts and should come off the dreaded shelf of shame. So all right, so what do you guys think are some good advice for dealing with, like, let's say someone has a shelf of shame. They have a board game buying problem. They buy them faster than they can play them. Angela did throw out the first big important step, which is stop buying games if you literally aren't playing the games you've already bought. But what are some good bits of advice for dealing with the shelf of shame, for shrinking the shelf of shame?
Who's going?
Let's
Let Marcus
go.
He's our guest.
Let's go, Marcus. Let's go, Marcus. He's the guest.
I would personally say, start selling them. Get on eBay and start selling them. Yeah,
that's a good one.
Before that, make a list of what you must have and what you can part with, and then sell what you can part with.
I think that's some really good advice. Yeah, go through it. Be like, this is a game I need to play. This is a game where I'm like, I don't know if I really need to play this anymore. I thought I did, but now I don't. Maybe I'll get rid of it. I like that. Riley, what do you think? What's some good advice for shrinking the shelf of shame?
Well, I think I'm trying to think. Bonzinator, she does Twitch. She does like a Monday, or I think she still does this. Board Games Anonymous or Board Gamers Anonymous. Ugh.
I did not know about this.
And so what she does is on stream, she'll put together like an insert or work on something and then just kind of hang out with chat. And she encourages everybody to get a game that is on their shelf of shame and do something with it. Like start reading the rule book, start punching tokens, or getting it one step closer to getting it to the table. And so I think that kind of thing of just being able to take a step towards getting it on the shelf or on the table. Of course, if you want to sell it, then you need to decide that too before. So that's probably step one is what Marcus said. Step two, once you've decided what you're going to keep and give away or sell, start taking those steps. Sorry, go ahead. The Shogunstein.
Oh, yes. The Shogunstein, regular viewers, also has his own YouTube channel. He says, Arizona is lucky to have a great secondhand game market. Best place to get board games. I'm curious about this. Please comment again, Shogunstein. How is it that they have a great secondhand game market? Like what? I'm not sure I know. Oh, here we go. He says, many schools have board game clubs or daycares need board games. You can donate games that way. I just gave 3 Shelf of Shame games to my kids' club at school. That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Well done. Yes, like I said, I give, I donate, and I sell. It's a good way to get rid of them. Angela, what is a good way to shrink the shelf of shame?
Okay, I'm not sure this is good advice, but I'm just going to share a little personal thing. So I follow a lot of people on Twitter in the board game community, and I take their advice very seriously. If they've got some advice I think is useful. And some advice I got a few years ago was pull out the games on your shelf of shame that you're going to play like within the coming week. And those games stayed stuck out of my shelf until I got sick of seeing them sticking out. So I pushed them back. Then a year later, there was some great advice as well to do with sticky notes. And you get red and yellow sticky notes, and the red ones are ones you're definitely going to play that, and the yellow ones are ones I'm thinking about playing at. And then I left them on my shelf, all these sticky notes, and then that became annoying, so I peeled them all off. And I'm not the person you should be asking.
The sticky note thing, back in the day when she still, I think her channel's kind of defunct at this point, but I'm trying to remember, what was her name? You and I were both subscribed to her, Angela. She was one of the reasons actually I formed a channel. Oh shoot, she like worked for Haba for a while. What is her? Say again? Yeah, Tiffany. What was her channel's name? She hasn't done anything in ages now. That
was one of my favorite channels. Their streams were so good.
So Tiffany,
is it not just Tiff Plays Games or something?
No, it wasn't. I'm gonna have to look it up later. I can't believe I can't remember. It's been so long.
Yeah.
But
was she on Dice Tower?
No, she had her own. She had her own channel. She had a channel around a little larger than mine is now. But she also had recommended. Tiffany had also recommended the sticky notes. Put sticky notes on if they're still there at the end of the year. Sell them. I did want to throw out.
That's where I got it from. It was probably them that had said.
I can't remember what the name of her channel is.
Good advice only works if you follow it through, doesn't it?
Yeah. So Shogunstein threw out, he said, for example, Big Board Game Bar once a month has a second-hand market. People sell games, very often Kickstarter games that were a bust, or many of the culture of the new games. It says, bottom line, people have too many games. They get played once or twice and end up with 2 to 3 months, in 2 to 3 months at a secondhand market. Every Kickstarter game I did not back, I end up finding at the secondhand market. That's true. A lot of people, the FOMO makes them buy the Kickstarter games, and then they're like, do I really need this game? Do I have 5 other games that do what this game does? Which is something that, like, at the height of me doing a lot of Kickstarters, there was a point where I was doing like Kickstarters every couple of months. I was getting some of these games and not actually getting them played. I think I do have a game in my Shelf of Shame that was a Kickstarter game that I was very excited about and never made it to the table. This has happened to me too. I want to throw out, though, so Riley was talking about, definitely taking steps towards actually getting the games played. I've started doing a while back, I haven't done one in a while, but I started doing Shelf of Shame weekends. And what I would do with the Shelf of Shame weekend, this is a big advice to anybody who needs to shrink their Shelf of Shame. I would take a couple of days off. And for me, I was recording some content with it, and we were doing our initial impressions of all the games on our Shelf of Shame weekend that we got to play. And we would play a bunch of games over the couple of days off, and they all had to be games on our Shelf of Shame. And in the couple of Shelf of Shame weekends I did, we knocked off each time like 6 to 8 games from our Shelf of Shame in one weekend, nice. Which was great. Highly recommend doing that. Invite some people over, drink some beers, because I don't ever invite people over without drinking. Maybe I should go to a different support group. But invite some people over, drink some beers, and play some games. I always love doing, all joking aside, I always love doing beer and board game nights. And doing the Shelf of Shame weekend beer and board game nights actually were a lot of fun. I did one with Lynn and Juliana, who's also appeared on my channel. I did another one, I think, with Lynn and Danielle, who had also appeared on my channel. We played literally nothing for 2 days, nothing but games that were on the Shelf of Shame. And it was great. We knocked a bunch off.
You've also hit upon something else with regards to the Shelf of Shame. The reason mine is so big is because if I have a little bit of time to play a game, I don't want to spend an hour learning the game. So I'll pull something off that shelf that I already know how to play, or I've got a rough idea of how to play. So I only have to skim the rules as opposed to learn the entire thing.
That's a good point. Marcus, you were going to say something.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Great idea. A lot of people do the yearly, how many games can I play this year? I'm going to set out the resolution to play 100 games this year, 50 games I haven't played this year. Falls into the same line of thinking, but yeah, just start at the beginning of the year. I'm going to play all these games I haven't played for my collection, and then there you go. Probably going to fail, but you can try, though. Try again next year.
Well, I was going to say, you got to be realistic with the goals of how many games can I get played. Because a lot of people will say, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to play like 200 games. It's like, are you going to have the time? I mean, I have found dedicated weekends with playing nothing but games that are on my Shelf of Shame for the whole weekend will help me get a lot of games played. I have found that a lot, but you can't do that every weekend. And generally speaking, I would say if on a normal weekend where you're also doing other things, if you get a couple of games played, that's good. That's fine. That's plenty. Especially if you're doing other stuff, like if you're going out, you're meeting up with people and doing something other than playing board games, which unfortunately happens.
There's other things to do?
Not really, but other people think so.
My friend, Phil over at Organized Fun, he's very peculiar. The whole premise of his podcast is that he plays games according to a spreadsheet. And so when he gets a new game, he puts it in the spreadsheet and it goes first. It gets bumped up to the latest game of unplayed games. And then once he plays all those games, then the next thing is by the number of times he's played it. So essentially his entire shelf, the goal is to have them played somewhat equally. So a game won't come back around until other games have been played just as much of it. It's very, very, his podcast is called Organized Fun. Awesome. Yeah, it's like,
that's what I call a man with a plan.
Insane. I know, right? So, and he lives his whole life by spreadsheets. He is intense, but I couldn't do that.
That's what that sounds like to me. Obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah, and it's really fun though, because like the other day we were playing on Board Game Arena, and he was like, "Well, you know how I like order, so let's just play alphabetically." So we started playing, and we played 6 or 7 games on Board Game Arena, starting with 13 clues, and we played games I never would have touched otherwise, and some of them were fun. And
that is cool. He definitely sounds like a very organized person, but he also sounds like a very OCD person.
Yes,
I was gonna say, but to be fair, he probably has a better handle on his shelf of shame than the rest of us do.
Absolutely. So I've always wanted to make a spreadsheet and try and like do something to that extent, but have cheat days, or maybe it's like the shelf of shame weekend idea of like, all right, every other week is a spreadsheet game. So
a couple things. Let's see. Lynn says a good goal is 1 unplayed game a month. That's pretty good, because if you do 1 unplayed game a month, even without doing shelf of shame weekends, just 1 unplayed game a month, that's 12 games off your shelf of shame in a year. That's a lot. 12 games is a lot. I would say that would make a significant dent through the year, especially if you're not buying new games that are going on your shelf of shame. That would make a significant dent off. I was going to say,
but then you're adding 30 new games.
Yeah, you can't add more than 12 games when you're knocking 12 off. If you add more than 12 games while knocking 12 off, that's a problem. And Shogunstein threw out another good way to cull is to get rid of games 5 other people in your group have. For example, taverns or of TIFF or Wingspan. Everyone has, so no need to have my own copy when 5 others in my own game group do. Which that actually does make a lot of sense. If a lot of people you play with have the game, you don't necessarily need it.
Yeah, I've done that with my cull as well, because my son-in-law, I got rid of all my Red Raven games other than Above and Below, because he's got all of them. So I was like, do I need?
Does he have Above and Below?
He collects them, so he's got even the weird Red Raven things from years back. He's got the whole everything.
Nice.
I'm trying to remember the name of it. I've still got one of the Red Raven ones, the little one about archaeology, which was really good. I don't think it's in. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I've got it over on the shelf somewhere. Yeah, Red Raven is
like
good.
The Artifacts Inc. or something.
Yes, that's it. Artifacts Inc. That is
with
it.
The standees.
It's does it have standees? I'm not sure. I gotta look at it. It's a little box. It's only like this big. They don't do anything that tiny anymore. Everything they do is huge now. But no, they do
big
some great games.
Help sell the games.
They do. This is another thing I want to throw out. So a lot of people. Okay, I think one of the big problems that people have, and we've talked about it briefly, with their shelf of shame, is people have trouble stopping buying things. We're gamers. We're collectors. We like to buy things. I figured out a way. I want to see what you guys think of this. A way to keep buying things without adding to the shelf of shame. Now, I took the drink for dramatic effect. So here's how to buy things without adding to the shelf of shame. Check this out. So you have a game that you love. That's one of those games that has tons of things you can get for it, not like full expansions, but tons of things you can get for it that expand on your enjoyment of the game. So things like if you're playing Sails of Glory, more ships, tripods and triplanes, more tripods or more planes, things like that. So when I ask for a holiday gift or I want to buy something myself, gaming wise, if I buy a ship for Star Wars Armada or a ship for Battlestar Galactica Starship Battles or Sails of Glory or Wings of Glory or tripods and triplanes or about to be because I was just talking about it. Leviathans. Yeah, I had a brain cramp. I don't feel like that's adding to the Shelf of Shame because I'm already playing the game. I'm just adding more options. I'm adding more ships I can use, more variety, but I get to buy game stuff without adding to the Shelf of Shame because I'm buying game stuff for a game I play all the time, and I know it will make it into the rotation. I'll make it a fleet, army, etc. that will use it, but it's not a whole game that's not been played.
So this is something I was actually going to ask is, do you count expansions? I've done a poll on Twitter before, and it seems like most people count expansions as Shelf of Shame. If you don't,
if it's
haven't played it.
If it's a full expansion with full new rules and I haven't played it, yes. If it's just a ship, that you can rotate in and use in your fleet, no.
Fair
That's
enough.
my answer to that. Shogun Steam said, go ahead.
Sorry, I have to leave. I'm sorry, guys.
Oh, it's okay.
Not the eye injections.
Oh, boy.
I'd much rather be here.
Well, Angela, we knew you had to leave early. We'll see you next month. I do want to throw out before Angela leaves real quick that starting next month and all through the rest of this year and next year, the schedule for Game Night Insight is going to be changing. We're going to be meeting up on Monday nights at 11 p.m. Chicago time instead of Thursday nights. We had to do it for scheduling reasons. And of course, for Angela, that will be Tuesday midday. So I did want to throw that out. But Angela, awesome to have you as always as
Thanks,
our host.
Lovely
and have a great day.
Marcus.
Lovely to meet you, Angela.
Bye, Angela.
Get those games off that Shelf of Shame.
Indeed. So I got a few comments here I just want to call attention to. So Shogun Scene said, I have some snow Bigfoot Red Raven game that is on the Shelf of Shame. I think that might be a typo, but I'm not.
No, he's talking about, what is it?
Is that particular game?
Yeah, there's a certain game, and I can't remember what it's called now. Why am I blanking on that?
And he also said good night to Angela. That just came out there. So then also, in addition, then Daiku Games is here, who is one of our previous guest hosts. And he says, there's nothing equivalent that if you don't wear it in 1 year, you have to get rid of it.
The clothing.
There's a clothing equivalent. I said that wrong. If you don't wear it in 1 year, you have to get rid of it. I also am not all about that because I do like to hold on to clothes for a long time. So I have issues with that too. I feel like
that rule kind of.
I feel like there's a little bit of a hoarder in me with some of these things.
Klondike, Shogunstein?
That sounds about right.
Klondike?
I'm like testing my Red Raven's local here. So I feel like I need to know these things.
I do feel like, so to Daiku Games, I do feel like that is a cool and good rule. It's just I have trouble sticking to it, even though I do occasionally do well with culling and getting rid of stuff when I need to make room. There is definitely like the soul of a collector in me, and I hoard these things, especially games and clothes for some reason.
Okay, one big point that I had for this conversation was that I've got a cousin. He's got like 8 cars, fancy cars. Like, so I saw him, man, he just works a bunch of hours. I think he does some kind of like delivering stuff. I don't know what he's delivering. Maybe
are you sure he's not doing something illegal? What is he delivering?
I think he got a settlement at 1.2. So
okay. That makes more sense now.
But anyway.
He's got like 8 cars, and then no lie though, like not this last week, but the week before last. We happened to see him like pulling up at this Firehouse Subs, and then he's got a brand new white crazy Benz. And I'm like, he got another one, and then brand new one, and he just got it. And then I'm like, I can't feel bad at all about my board game hoarding.
No, it's not. It's not as bad as someone who has 8 cars. Definitely not.
Not at all. Well, you can't drive all 8 of those cars, and there's an upkeep cost to those cars because you gotta have insurance.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
If you're going to
And
be
he's
driving
not
them all.
reselling them. He's not buying them and reselling them, right?
No.
I don't think for the most part. No, I don't think so.
No. So Shogun seen throughout, there's peer pressure, I think, to buy games. I really think that the social media adds to that. There's also the FOMO, of course, the fear of missing out. Like you see something comes out new and you know it's not going to be out forever. And you're like, I may want to play it. It's not necessarily peer pressure. It's like your own pressure. You have this fear of missing out where you're like, this game looks really cool. It looks like a game I would like. And I don't want to miss my opportunity to get it because if it's out of print, then I could never find it. And we all do this to ourselves. Granted, there is some peer pressure online when everyone's saying, oh, this game is the best. You have to own this game. But also there definitely is just the self-pressure, the FOMO for it. And also he said then, whoops, there it is.
Klondike Rush is the name
Klondike
of the game.
Rush.
That's
It
what
was
it was.
Klondike Rush.
I was missing the rush.
The Klondike Rush. So I definitely think that it is for sure a combination of there is some peer pressure for sure. There is some peer pressure, but also the FOMO. The FOMO hits hard. Gamers are so susceptible to FOMO. Oh, and we have Board Game Hot Takes, who's also a previous guest host. Cole. If it doesn't bring you joy, kick it to the curb. And you know what? I film entire videos on just the stuff I'm getting rid of for my collection. And people seem to feed off the negativity because people watch those videos.
Tim is really good at culling his games, and it's impressive. I feel like if I'm ever going to take that leap into... I think I've donated maybe 2 or 3 games, but eventually I need to take that step, and he's going to be my emotional support there. Like, talk me through it, man. Help me give away this game or help me sell this game. So Tim's great at that.
I feel like as long as you can still live in your house normally and the games aren't blocking your paths or your ability to sleep in your bed, you're okay.
Yeah. I'm going to get a new Calyx right here on my left wall. So I'm going to have more room for games.
Well, and I mean, Marcus has 3 sheds now.
Yes.
Yeah.
You get it.
Mean, we can always put up a 4th, but nothing wrong with it.
And let's see. You can drop 75% and you will never miss them. I disagree with that statement. Okay, man. Okay, Board Game Hot Takes. I love you. You're great, but I disagree with that statement entirely. I could not drop 75% of my games and not miss any of them. I think I would miss some of them. 75% is a lot. I think I could do. I want to say I could probably drop about 33% and not miss any of them. 75 is too high, especially because there's a lot of games I definitely do feel like I would miss. And then he asked, Josh, have you ever gotten rid of a game that you regret culling? No, but only because I'm very careful not to cull a game that I think I will eventually want to hit the table again.
What about you, Marcus? Have you ever culled a game and been like, dang it?
Not quite yet.
No.
Okay.
How about you, Riley? Have you ever culled a game and then been like, damn, I should have kept that?
I've only culled like 2 games.
Oh.
No, I have not. Yeah, and there was when we were moving, and my wife was like, you really need to get rid of games. And I said, we're getting a house. We have more room. Like, I have an entire office.
See that? You see that? More room. More.
Yeah.
So I do want. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, one thing I did do, though, that it kind of stings at me in the back of my mind. So, like, when I moved from Dallas to Arkansas, I did get rid of a bunch of my board game boxes to save space. So I've got a lot of games in a box in big, huge plastic bags.
Oh.
So I've got like, what's that? That big time futuristic worker placement game. What's that one?
Anachrony?
Anachrony. So like perfect example, I've got Anachrony in a huge
plastic bag.
huge one of these guys, like in a huge one of these guys, and a huge few of these guys.
Oh my god.
Things like that.
Marcus, you're
That's crazy to me. That is insane to me. That would drive me nuts. Like I would not be able to deal with that. I think I would.
I mean, it's sort of a coal, sort of a coal, and then like
I would rather cull it and buy it again than do that. That would bother me so much. Having it in a plastic bag.
I mean,
it kind of gets to me sometimes.
Did you do that because you thought like I'll never want to get rid of this game?
It's just more kind of sort of because like I mean, I'm sure that I could even sell it in the bag. But I mean, the boxes just took up so much space. Rather than get rid of the whole game, just keep the real contents of the game.
Oh wow.
Interesting. That is
that is interesting.
Wild.
I couldn't do that. Like I need to have the boxes. Maybe that's my OCD, but I need to have the boxes. So Board Game Hot Take said, I have given away a few that I regret, but that's the risk I'm willing to take. And I think that's an important thing. Like, are you willing to take the risk of being like, sometime I might want to play this game again? If you're willing to take the risk, yeah, get rid of it. Shogunstein said, bag of games. And Lynn threw out, some people do that with puzzles to save space. They throw their puzzles into bags. Like, I can see that more with puzzles, but with board games, man, because that's like, no, man, you know what? I can't see it with puzzles either. I changed my mind. No, that would freak me out. That's too much.
That's like a key. Your puzzle box has the picture that you want to recreate.
Yeah.
Man, that's like taking it up a level.
You can actually cut out the purposeful part of the box and just keep it.
All right.
Oh, no, I can't do this. I couldn't do this. This is too much. I think this is giving me anxiety just thinking about it. This is like I love the boxes of the games. I'm just looking at some over my shoulder here. I love the boxes of the games. I don't think I could. I think it would freak me out if I had some of my games in bags. Like if all they were in was a bag, unless they were meant to be in the bag. Like I do have games that are meant to be in bags, travel type games, but like games that are meant to be in a box, I think it would wig me out too much to have them in bags.
It becomes like a metaphysical type of exercise. Like, I mean, do you really love the game for the game's sake, or do you love the game for the fact that it's looking pretty?
Why not both?
Just aesthetically on the shelf.
But why not both? I mean, I feel like the thing is that there is you can love a game both for the game and how it plays, as well as how aesthetically pleasing it is on a shelf. And I don't want to give up one of those and only have one of those left. So I'm saying both. Because there are a lot of games where I love how they look and how they look on the shelf, and I love the game. I mean, I wouldn't hold on to a game just because I love how it looks. Better be a good game too. I would cull a game if it just looked pretty and was crap. I have done that before. There was this game, gorgeous game. It's called like By Order of the Queen, but it was crap. The game was terrible, and I got rid of it. It was really sad too because the game looked amazing, and then it just did not play very well. It was not a fun game. But same company. I'm trying to remember the name of the company. Might be, but the same company put out a game called like Tyler Sigmund's Crows, which looks beautiful and is awesome, and that one's still in the collection and is great. So some quick comments. I'm dying inside knowing that you did that. Board Game Hot Takes.
Same, Tim. Same.
Yeah. We're all freaking out a little bit that Marcus did that. I think we are. Shogunstein said,
let me go make you feel real bad. 1 minute.
Oh, he's gonna get the bag. He's gonna get the bag. Shogunstein said, school night for this teacher. Great conversation. Good night, everyone. Good night, Shogunstein.
Good night. Thank you for being a teacher. My wife's a teacher, so always appreciate fellow teachers.
Indeed. Always support teachers. Always support your teachers. And thank you so much for joining our live stream.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure Marcus is going to get his one of his bags of games to freak us out. And so, Riley, what were you going to say?
Let's just leave. Let's just be gone by the time it comes. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's hide.
Good night, everybody.
Everybody hide before Marcus comes back with the bag to freak us out.
Oh my gosh. I think it's actually really interesting thinking about that though, because he does kind of have a point as I'm looking at the shelf presence and everything. And I think, well, if I couldn't display these games, if I just had a cubby that had a bag, a little baggie or a big baggie with all the components, would I still have the desire to have that game? I guess. I don't know.
I feel like it would cheapen part of the experience of owning that game. Not all of it. I mean, you can still play the game, but the display part of the experience. Oh my God! Are these the bags of games? Oh my God!
Examples.
Oh, okay. Let's see them.
We got a classic Star Wars Risk right here.
Okay.
Pretty underrated, best version of Risk I've ever played.
Okay.
We've got
I didn't even
Summoner
know there was
Wars.
a Star Wars Risk.
Okay.
No Summoner Wars right here.
Okay.
We got my personal favorite board game, Champions of Midgard, with all 3 expansions. Plastic bagged up.
Okay, Marcus, do these still hit the table for you? Now that they're in the bags, I mean, because here's the thing, like, I feel like if I did this, if I put games in bags, I feel like not seeing them on the shelf when I'm looking around my game room on the shelves, I would forget they exist and then never hit the table for me anymore. Do they still hit the table lots for you?
I just introduced the group to the Champions like a couple months ago, so oh yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Blue Moon, one of the ones from my favorite personal video of yours that I still haven't played yet. Blue Moon. And FaZe. Would love to play this one day, but yeah.
No, FaZe is the one from one of my videos. I've never played Blue Moon.
Oh man,
that was somebody else.
It's a 2-player dueling card game. 2-player dueling card game.
FaZe is fantastic. I love FaZe. I will sing the praises of FaZe from now until I die. I don't understand why that game is not more well loved. I absolutely adore FaZe. But so I feel like, so where do you keep them? Do you keep them in a drawer now that they're in bags, or?
Like I said, I have veins of games. So, some of it is interspersed in between reselling stuff, and some of it's here, some of it's there. So it's everywhere.
Yeah, you do have games like everywhere, and even outside your house, because you keep some in sheds and boxes and stuff like that.
It's everywhere. Oh,
Fair enough. But I mean, as long as they're getting played, as long as you think they're going to get played and they're going to make it to the table, I think that's the bottom line of what it's fine. As long as you're like, you know what, this game's going to get played. It hasn't gotten played yet, but it's going to get played. It's going to make it to my table. I think bottom line, that's what's important. And I mean, if you need to do stuff to save on space, as long as you're okay with it. Here's a question though. When you made it to the table with that game in the bag, did other people go, what the heck? Like, did people get weirded out that it was in a bag?
People have been doing that ever since I started to do it. I just ignore them. Let's play the game.
Okay, I was just curious because
I wonder if it sets the expectation lower for the game. Like, oh, dang, this game's in a baggie. Like, what are we getting into? And then they're open to a pleasant surprise.
Exactly.
I love that.
That is pretty. That is pretty funny. That is pretty freaking funny.
So you brought up Anachrony, and then it made me realize that technically, I guess I haven't played my copy, but I've got all the miniatures, and I paint them, and so I haven't played my copy because I want to paint all of my miniatures before I play it. So I'm technically kind of playing with it when I paint miniatures. Does that count as getting it off my shelf of shame?
Hey, I mean, you're getting use out of it.
You are getting use out of it. Now, we had a discussion. I don't remember if it was last episode or the episode before, where our guest host said, if you read a role-playing game book, that's playing the role-playing game book. That's experiencing it. So I would say painting the miniatures is playing the game. Yeah. And I want to throw out, Lynn said about your games and bags, Marcus. She says they're all travel games now.
Ready to go.
That is pretty funny. That is pretty awesome. Did anybody have anything? So we went over how does your game collection get so out of hand that you have a huge shelf of shame? We went over
Oh, look! Now it's back to being tied. Oh!
Wait, what's back to being
Tim.
tied?
Thank you, Tim.
Wait, what? What
Tim
happened?
said, if you've played a game, even if it's not your copy, then it's not a Shelf of Shame game.
Oh, that's right.
So,
Okay.
Tim, you weren't here for that, but we had that discussion earlier. Angela and Josh, they said, it is Shelf of Shame if you haven't played your actual copy, and they made some good points. But
I think actually, I would have to say Tim is on the winning side now. I don't think it's tied anymore. I think because Lynn also voted that way.
Yeah.
Lynn voted that way too. No, Lynn was not on our side. Lynn was on your side.
It counts. Oh, I missed.
So it counts.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I think, but Tim says reading a rule book doesn't count though.
Yeah, I don't think reading a rule book counts.
But reading a role playing game book, we decided. We decided last time does count. So, all right. So we discussed how do these collections get out of hand. We discussed how to some recommendations for how to keep them from getting out of hand and how to shrink the Shelf of Shame. We talked about having Shelf of Shame gaming weekends. We talked about restricting yourself from buying new games, and if you have to buy stuff, buy ships for games where it's not really a full expansion. Things like Sales of Glory, we can just buy more ships, or Star Wars Armada, things like that. But is there anything else we haven't talked about? Stuff that really any other kind of subtopic within the Shelf of Shame that we haven't discussed? And I'm throwing this out to the chat as well. Anything else that we have glaringly left unspoken that we haven't discussed about the Shelf of Shame?
Kind of two things. Like Angela was saying, retirement. Maybe I'm just saving them for retirement one day. Why is there no board game retirement home?
We should start that. We should start a board gamer retirement home. I do think though. I mean, so here's the thing. People who are old now grew up when modern board games did not exist. A lot of them really, at the very least, who are in retirement homes. So they're playing old school games, and they do play old school games. If you go to retirement homes, you see people playing cards, you see people playing old school board games, you see people playing bingo, things like that. When we are old enough to retire, retirement homes are going to have the games that we're playing now. I mean, that's just how it's going to be. Well,
what about in Germany, though?
Oh, I think they're probably playing Catan. They're retirement homes for sure.
They gotta be.
I mean, come on, it's Germany. I mean, they were ahead of the curve on the newer games. I mean, they were playing Euro games before we knew those things existed at all. So yeah, I would definitely say Germany. They probably are. But I mean, for that matter, we probably have people in retirement homes in the U.S. that are playing grognard games, that are playing the old school the old school hex war strategy games, things like Advanced Squad Leader, stuff like that takes 8 hours plus to play. I'll bet you there's people in retirement homes playing that.
Now I'm picturing too, just a group of old folks playing D&D, sitting around the retirement home playing D&D. I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
That sounds awesome. You know what? If I'm still doing this, if I'm still a content creator when I'm old and I'm retiring, I'm going to set this up. I'm going to set up a retirement home, and all you gamers, all you guys, Marcus, Riley, and everybody watching, you're invited. You're invited to come retire with us in our retirement home where they'll be gaming every day.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
See, I mean, you think it's out there, but I've never seen it. I've never looked for it, but I've never seen it, though.
I wouldn't be surprised though. I wouldn't be surprised if you found a group of old retired gamers all went to the same retirement community and had regular board game nights. It wouldn't be that surprising to me. It's the only thing holding it back from being widespread again is the time period, the age, because people retiring now, people retiring now could have been into D&D. People retiring now could have been into the old tabletop war strategy games from the 60s and 70s, but they wouldn't be into the modern stuff we're thinking about, because the modern stuff that we mainly are thinking about didn't really start till the 90s. So they're not old. People who are playing that in the 90s probably aren't old enough to be retiring now. I mean, some of them are,
Yeah,
but
I bet
most of them aren't.
They might have like gotten into it with their kids and and carried it on, but that's probably like the minority, right?
Yeah, so like I feel like, I mean, we've gotten a bit off topic, but I like this off topic. This is fun. But I feel like there's not enough. Like you would have people who were adults who were into D&D and the old war strategy games back in the day, that when the 90s came around were getting into stuff, but there wouldn't be a huge amount of them. And so I think the best you'd have right now in retirement homes is you'd have either people into like things like Advanced Squad Leader or in Europe, the old school Euro style games in Germany that predated the boom of the 90s.
So Marcus, you said you had two things. That was just one of them, right?
Okay. Before like I really even get into the second thing, let me just take it further off topic a little bit. I heard Nintendo Wii was huge in retirement homes.
Oh boy,
I could buy that.
My grandmother and her sister, they like came and visited us, and they were like, "We have Wii Bowl tournaments," and we were like, "What's Wii Bowl? What are they talking about, Wii Bowl?" And this was like I don't know, a couple 3-4 years ago. It was like Wii bowling, like they use the Wii and do, yeah.
But it's because it's so approachable. Anyway, the Wii is outdated at this point, but it's so approachable because anyone can play it. You don't have to be a video gamer.
Oh yeah,
anyone can get into the Wii sports gamings. So I could totally see why a lot of older people get into that. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So at their retirement community, they would do like Wii sports nights. So yeah, that's totally a thing.
We need to get board games there. Let's get real modern board games there.
I know.
Okay.
Well, when we retire, we definitely need to have them. We definitely do. When I retire, wherever I'm retiring, whatever retirement community I'm in, whatever condo community I'm in, I'm telling you right now, we'll have an organized game night. I can promise you this. It's going to exist. There will be a game night at whatever retirement community I'm retiring to. Well, again, I don't know if it'll be a retirement community. I might just go to a condo complex or something. But wherever I am, there will be an organized game night.
Oh yeah,
guaranteed.
Oh yeah,
perfect. I mean, I'm gonna be retired. I'll have plenty of time to organize it. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'll pick a day of the week. It's gonna be every week that day for hands down. Whether or not I'm still doing content.
Three nights a week. 3 nights a week. Oh yeah.
I mean, you got nothing else going on, right? No, I think. Okay, so what was your second thing?
There'll be one night for Euro games, one night for BattleTech.
Oh, there you go.
One night for BattleTech. One night for Leviathans. Yeah. Okay. All right. So second thing, like nobody ever says this stuff about book collectors with libraries and libraries at their house. Nobody says that.
Yeah, that's like seen as so sophisticated.
I'm gonna disagree a little. If somebody has so many books that they can't all fit in the shelf, that they have stacks of books on the floor, I think people do say you got to get rid of some of those books. So
Board Game Gran. I was literally just about to say that Angela and I have talked about a life goal of having like the equivalent of a ladder that slides back and forth on your bookshelf so that you can do the bell scene from Beauty and the Beast and be like, ooh, look at my games.
So Board Game Hot Takes agree with me that people do say that they do say that people have too many books. I'm pretty sure that's what he's referring to. But yeah, like especially if people are stacking them on the floor, if they don't have room in their shelves anymore, that's when people are like, yeah, you got too many books. You definitely have too many books. But yeah, I think this conversation is winding down. I think we're kind of coming to the logical conclusion here, because I think let me just check with you guys. Is there anything else we missed? Anything we should be talking about that we did not get to address in this discussion about the dreaded shelf of shame? There is a comment from there's some multiple comments. So let's see. Board Game Hot Take says, if you will never read or open that book again, then cull it. You really just like to get rid of stuff. Damn. And then we have Board Game Gran says, that's the dream, Riley, like Bell, lol. And then again from Board Game Hot Takes, same with your board games. Yeah, you really do like to get rid of stuff. Wow. Okay.
So I guess Marcus has, I think, the expertise on once you realize like, okay, this is a problem. I'm never going to play this game. Like, Do you have some advice for selling your game?
You know, one of the biggest things, well, a good thing is like, just like you said, as soon as you get the game, you're going to open it, read the rule book. You can always get the PDF, keep it sealed up. And then when you decide you're going to do something with it, then you can open it. And then if you don't do that, then hey, you got a bigger resale value.
It's a good point.
That is a
or
really
bigger
good point.
regifting value.
It's a very good point because that's sealed in box.
Yep.
It's sealed in box, so it's still worth more, even if you decided you're never going to play it. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
When you sell, do you sell games that you've opened then?
Oh yes, I do. Those two. I remember this one. I think like probably one of the first ones I did was this. Like y'all know Hero Quest, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was this Kickstarter called Orc Quest. Like the cover was so cool; it looked just like Hero Quest, but with the orc. And then I opened it, played it a couple times, and then it was just like a Munchkin. I kind of hate Munchkin, so really just put that thing on eBay, sold that thing, and haven't looked back since.
Fair enough.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, so I think we're going to call it there because I think the conversation has kind of reached its logical conclusion.
Can I ask one more question to Marcus there? Because
of course.
I assume you've got tons of games listed. Do you like I don't know, do you lower your prices after so long? If a game's just not selling, are there certain strategies you take or?
I've got like 5,000 things listed, and I probably got like 7,000 things unlisted. So,
whoa,
it's like unless
you have 5,000 things on eBay right now?
Oh yeah.
Holy crap.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a lot, but like if it doesn't really come to I pretty much set it and forget it. But if it's like something that I know, like I paid a high dollar for it or something, I might go down. I might just recognize it and lower the price. But yeah, this is a game called Twisted Fables. I thought it was gonna. No. I did sell that Twisted Fables, but like some of these things, like you get it for kind of high. You think it might have some buzz, and then 7 months later, nobody's really looking at it. So then, if it pops up in my head, I'll lower the price.
Okay, that makes sense. So I had a friend that sold diamonds and jewelry out of his trunk for years. And then he used that money eventually to buy a space and set up a shop. Do you want to grow? Do you want to set up a shop? Would you want to start a board game store?
I do have a friend. We kind of do a lot of card game things together. We're thinking about maybe retirement years, maybe coming together on like a card game shop / board game / comics, whatever type of deal. But
yeah,
that's in the future. I mean, he's got a bunch more money than me, but I mean, he's down for it. I'm down for it. So maybe one day.
Okay. I was just wondering if you had that goal.
Time soon.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't need a storefront, right? You're doing well enough, so.
Yeah.
Right. I would love to one day.
Let's overhead.
I would love one day to have like a board game pub. I think that'd be freaking cool because
you got your beer, you got your board games.
Got your beer, you got your board games. It's amazing. I mean, I would love to do that. I would love to have a board game pub like when I retire. I think that'd be a really cool thing to do. Yeah.
Have you guys been to board game pubs at all, or?
I've played board games.
Oh yeah, my Sunday group used to be called on Meetup. My Sunday group in Dallas, we were called Boards and Brews.
Nice.
Boards and Brews, and then we met up at the Alamo Draft House. Lovely times.
That's awesome.
I've got a lot of Brews. A lot of the pubs around here will have like board games. Not a great selection, but they'll have some. And then also, like any of them, you can go to with board games, and we'll play at the pub. And there was for a while, I had the right days off where there was a board game meetup at a local pub, and I would go there and play board games with people. So yeah, I kind of done stuff like that, and it's pretty cool. I like playing board games at pubs, but there's none in my area that's specifically like what I would do, which is a board game store and pub in one.
Yeah,
there's none of those in my area, which I think would be pretty awesome.
Yeah,
have a board game store and pub.
We have one here in Utah, but it's in Provo, and I don't like to go to Provo. But when we were in Portland, we went to Mox Boarding, and that was a board game store and a pub. So we went and got appetizers and ate and played games. And then if you liked a game that you played, then they would give you a coupon and you could get like 15 or 20% off the game and go buy it. So it was really, really cool. So cool. So I think you should definitely do that when you can, right?
And what was it called again?
Mox Boarding. Yeah.
Mox Boarding.
I've heard of that place.
It was awesome. Really fun.
Yeah. Board game pubs and board game cafes have become like all the rage. They're all over the place now. I do want to visit more. I've only seen like some of them. I want to visit more of them. They do seem really cool.
Chicago's got to have one, right?
There's a couple out here. They're in the city though. They're in the city. I'm in the suburbs. There's not really much out by me. I have seen a couple. I do want to see more. I really want to get up to like Toronto and see like the Snakes and Lattes, which is a big board game cafe. That's the one that everyone says is like the model to go after because they're one of the most successful.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a really cool idea. I like board game pubs and board game cafes as a concept. They're really cool. And I would like when I retire, I would love to own one. Specifically a pub though. I'd love to own a board game pub. So I'm
gonna do a Josh impersonation right here. Show off my drink.
Oh, okay. I was like, what do you mean? And what's going on? It's like a water. I'm like, what?
Yeah, show what I'm drinking, right?
Is there liquor in there?
No, it's just Propel. Gotta get those electrolytes.
I gotta tell you something. I don't know if it's a good impression of me if there's not alcohol involved.
That's fair.
All right.
It's Propel vodka.
Yeah.
Propel vodka. All right. Not a sponsor. So I was drinking the Great Lakes Brewing Company Elliott Ness Amber Lager. Also not a sponsor, but damn, this was tasty. This is a good one. I dug the Elliott Ness Amber Lager. It was quite good. I don't know if you guys have checked that out. Really tasty. I always have different beers when I'm doing these live streams. So that's why I like to show it, just in case anybody's interested in what I'm having, because I always have something different.
Yeah, I always meant to make that joke when you do it, like hold up whatever drink I'm drinking, which I don't drink alcohol, but it's
You're a teetotaler. Teetotaler. So, all right, I'm going to cut it there because I think we've really well not only discussed the main topic but gone on some fun side topics. But this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this topic. We got some great interaction from people in the comments. Thank you everyone who watched. Thank you so much for chatting with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to of course, my co-host Foyo Games, Marcus. Thank you so much, Riley. Thank you so much, Angela. I know you're watching at the moment, but had to go to your appointment. Thank you so much for this month's episode. Again, next month's episode is going to be, I have to check the date, but it will be the last Monday of September. Let me check. That will be the 26th of September. We're going to be doing it at the normal time, though. So it'll be 11 p.m. Chicago time on the 26th of September will be the next episode of Game Night Insight. Thank you, everybody, for joining. And until next time, game on, everybody.
Bye.